Hello everyone. In this video, let's attempt to create kind of a cute cartoon penguin, just for fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my light box and let's just decide what do we want to start with, right? So I have all these different options. I usually grab Dynamesh or Dynawax spheres. Doesn't really matter. This is 64, 128, 32. Let's just grab this 128. And so this is what it looks like. If we click on our polyframe, we can see the density, and we are not going to pay attention to topology at this point. All we want to do is just start creating kind of the base shape of our character, right? So let's think about this. The base shape, I think, is going to be best achieved if we grab something like this, and let's just do this. Let's go to deformation, and let's just dial down our gravity. Right now the gravity by default is turned to Y. You can see there's a little X, Y, and Z here. You can control those, but all I'm going to do is just simply start dragging it to the right, and you can see how my mesh kind of starts to melt, right? And I think that's going to be a better shape to start with. So I'm going to go to like 70 and just create something that looks, like this. If I wanted to make it a little bit longer, I can go to move, and holding down the X, I can control my symmetry, right? And what I'm going to do is just maybe stretch this a little bit. So now I have something like this where you have maybe kind of the head of the character, and then here would be the belly, right? So very simple. So that's going to be kind of our step one, right? What would be the next step? So the next step is let's just create some kind of wings on the side. And there's many different ways we can do it, but the easiest one is probably just going to be going to subtools and just simply inserting another sphere. And let's just use that as the wings for our character. So I'm just going to shimmy it over on this side, make it kind of small, and let's just maybe do something like this, right? And if we wanted to, we can also rotate it. Holding down the clicking and then holding down the shift key is going to allow me to snap my view. So I'm going to go in this view, and just holding down the Alt key, I can click and drag and pan. And I just want to make sure it's centered and it looks good. We can decide how high or low we want this to be, right? So maybe I want it to be just a little bit lower, so somewhere in this neighborhood. If I wanted to, I can also maybe change the shape of it just a little bit. And essentially that's just going to be my super simple wing, right? Let's grab this and just kind of put it into position and, do something like this. I think that's pretty great. Now we need two of them, right? Let's use this button here called mirror and weld, and I'm just going to flip it on the other side. And now I have two of them on both sides. If I wanted to merge this together, right? Right now I have two different layers. How do I merge this into one shape? So what I could do is I can turn these wings into Dynamesh as well by pressing this button here. And now I have all this UI stuff custom dragged onto my interface. If you like this and you want to use something very similar, you are welcome. Go to my community tab of my channel, and there I just posted my UI with all the brushes. So you're welcome to see if that's useful to you guys. All right, so what I'm going to do next, once we turn this into Dynamesh, right? Let's merge these two layers together. I'm going to click on the top one, go to merge, and just do merge down. All right, and you can see that now it's all on one layer. Now, if I wanted to, I could dial this back up, just up a little bit. Let's go to like 256 instead of 128, and let's just do Control and drag. And by doing that, you can see that our mesh kind of infused itself together into one blob versus, three separate pieces. Now I can do polish, just clean this up a little, and maybe I'll do polish a little more. And we can just continue sculpting and making it better and better, right? So the next step, once we created these little wings, maybe let's adjust, create a couple feet, right, for our character. Same thing, I'm just gonna simply go to insert, grab a circle, and this is going to be a cute little cartoon guy. So let's just scale this down. If we can't see it, we can always turn transparent mode on and just kind of put it into position. And you can see, check this out. If you look at the grid, the floor, as I move this, the floor is going to adjust itself. So in ZBrush by default, the way this works is the lowest mesh is going to be used to kind of move the grid around. So it's kind of unusual, but that's how it's set up by default. All right, so I'm going to do something like this, and let's just figure out. I think the feet should be somewhat large, and all I need is just one. I'm going to jump out of the perspective view and just do something like this. All right, now one thing I would like to do is I would like to make these feet, you know, a little more flat, right? So I can do something like this, and I can also go back to my deformation, and in here there's something called flatten, right? It's currently set to X. Let's switch this to Y, and let's start to see if we can just move this and flatten it on the bottom, right? And by doing that, you can see that it's going to automatically kind of cut the bottom of our shape and give us, you know, almost like a half a circle, right? Which is exactly what I was looking for. Now, what would be the best and easiest way to create, you know, maybe we want 3 toes, right, for our foot. Let's do this. Let's go into perspective view. Let's go into solo. Let's go to draw. Let's turn this into a Dynamesh. And you know what? I'm going to actually dial this to 256 as well. Do Dynamesh. Let's polish it. Now we have this shape. I'm going to grab my inflate. And if I press X, you can see that it's not actually mirroring it properly, right? Because this shape is off center. If I wanted to use symmetry on this, I do need to press something called local symmetry. And you can see that now, even though my shape is off center, it's going to use the local symmetry of the mesh to use the active symmetry. And this is pretty cool because now we can actually make our brush a little bit larger, and we can create a couple kind of a toes looking things, right? And we can do one in the middle as well. So we'll do something like that, just cute little toes. And I think that's pretty perfect. To fix the resolution, let's do Control and drag to re-Dynamesh. Again, we'll just do a little polish. And now we have this cute little foot. And if we wanted to fix the flatten part, right, let's do the same thing. We'll go to flatten and just kind of drag this down and just kind of clean this up, right? I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a perfect penguin foot. Let's jump into out of solo, right? So now we can see that. We'll jump out of transparent mode, and let's just see if we like this. I think it's pretty good. How do I flip it to the other side? Well, I could do a couple things actually. First, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to turn off my active symmetry, make this a little bit larger, and if I wanted to, I can even make it just a little bit longer, and also kind of turn it in for extra, you know, cute factor, right? So the toes are pointing in just a little bit. All right, now let's just go to subtool. Let's just duplicate this foot and we'll just flip it over. And now we have 2 of them, right? We can see what that looks like. Very cute. Now we have the wings, so we have the body, we have these cute little feet. And next, let's just start working maybe on a beak, right? We need a beak for our character. So to do that, same thing, let's just keep inserting spheres. I'm gonna let's just insert another sphere, and if we wanted to change the location of this, we can maybe move this up, and now it's located on top, just so we understand, and maybe that's gonna help us. Let's just figure out the size of our beak that we like. So maybe something like this, and maybe this is probably where I would want mine to be. And now what I would like to do is I would like to change, I would like to split this shape into 2 pieces, right? What would be the easiest way to do that? So the easiest way would just be, let's jump out of the perspective view and let's do Control and Shift. And let's take a look and see what we have here. So there's a couple different approaches. One would be I can grab something like the knife rectangular tool, and holding down Control and Shift, I can press spacebar. And in here, there's something called split to parts. Now, this is a new feature that was just added in version 2024 of ZBrush. So if you have that, that's great. Let me show you how to use that. If you turn that on, you can now do Control and Shift and just drag to, I'm going to go half of this sphere and just release. And you can see instead of cutting it and deleting it like it normally does, it actually created something that looks like there's a slice in the cut. Now what does that mean? That means that these pieces are actually separate. So if I go to split, I can say split en masse, right? And you can see now there's two of them. There's two different pieces. Let me turn my eye on and show you that you can see what that looks like. There's literally two different separate pieces. So this would be a great use of this feature, right? If you don't have this, let me show you a different way you can do it. So let me hide this for a second. Let's just assume not everyone has this feature. Another way of doing it, let's just insert another sphere and do the same thing. We'll bring it up and let's just maybe make it a little bit smaller. And let's say you don't have the split to parts feature. What would be another way to split this? So the other way would be to do Control and Shift, and you can just even grab something like this slice rectangular, turn your polyframe on, and what that's going to allow you to do is, if you can do Control, Shift, and drag and make a selection and just release, you can see exactly same thing happen, right? Now you have two different polygroups, which are they're separate, which means you can do Control, Shift, and tap on one, and then you can do split hidden, and now you have two pieces, right? And then of course if you Dynamesh, you're gonna arrive to the same exact point as split to parts. All right, so that's cool. Now you know two different ways of doing it. I'm gonna delete all of that, and let me go back to these and just turn them on. And let's just continue, right? So now let's just start sculpting this into maybe the bottom part of our lip. So what I'm going to do is or the bottom part of the beak, not a lip. I'm going to solo this. Let's jump out of polyframe. Let's turn this into Dynamesh 256. I kind of like 256 mode for this character. Let's do Dynamesh, and we can see what that looks like. We can polish it. Now we have kind of a clean looking shape, right? Now since this is the bottom of the beak, let's just maybe do something like this. Let's do Control and drag, and if I press hold on Control key, I do want to make sure that I have my pen selected, which is this. I'm going to turn on my X symmetry, and my local symmetry is on, which I guess it doesn't really matter at this point, but let's just make a selection of the mesh that we could press in and make it look a little more like a beak, right? So I'm going to do something like that. Very carefully, just clean this up. Do Control and click to reverse it. And now how do I push this in, right? There's many different ways of doing it. I can just even grab my inflate, make it kind of large, make sure I'm in sub mode, and just start pressing this in. So that would be one of many ways of achieving this, right? So we'll do something like that, and let's say I'm happy with this. We'll do Control and drag to get rid of the mask, Control and drag again to redynamesh, and just do a quick polish. All right, so that's going to be my bottom piece of the beak. If I like that, that's great. If I wanted to do any additional sculpting to this, let's jump out of solo mode and let's think about this. What would be another way of adjusting it? Maybe I want to create kind of a different shape. I can always grab my move. So if I make this move kind of large, I can just simply shape this into something a little, maybe something that has kind of a bottom piece here, so it's a little more sharp on the bottom. And because I have symmetry on, I can kind of pinch these in and create really a cool effect that looks a lot like the beak. From maybe this direction, I want to do something like this, just make it a little softer. If I wanted to clean this up, I could do redynamesh. We can even turn it into, we can even zRemesh this to clean this up. Right now you can see there's like all these different weird looking blobs. We could always clean that up by zRemeshing it. So let's go and try that. Go to geometry, zRemesher. I'm going to turn adapt off just because this shape is so simple. I'm going to make sure my active symmetry is on. Let's just put this to like 1 and do zRemesh. All right, if I turn my polyframe on, you can see that I have this beautiful clean topology, right? Which is great, which means if I do Control D a couple times, it's gonna give me a very clean looking shape, okay? And it doesn't have any bumps or blobs or anything weird, right? Very cool. So now we have this. Let's move on to the top, and maybe even, how about we add something that looks like a tongue in there? That could be cool too. I'm gonna grab my move, maybe rotate this a little, and maybe move this up, just so I don't have like a space in there. Let's go to subtools. Let's just insert another sphere. We're just going sphere crazy here. I'm gonna go here. Let's just make this kind of small, do something like this, and that could be our little tongue in there, right? Let's just stick it in here, rotate it, maybe move it down, and you can see that that looks pretty cool. We can stretch it, can move it around. All right, and now it looks like there's something there. Let's grab the top piece. Now, if you're not sure which one of these is the top, I can always just simply use the Alt key, holding down the Alt and tap, and that's going to automatically go to this layer. So that's another way, cool way to quickly select it, right? I can move this down, so I don't have that big space there. And we can figure out if we like this top beak to be over the little one. I think that makes sense. Let's just do the same thing, grab our brush, make it kind of large, and turn our active symmetry on, and let's just, you know, shape it into something that maybe looks a little more like a beak, right? And again, I like these kind of overlapping. I think that was pretty cool. And something like that is cool. If I wanted to, I can jump out of the perspective view, right? I can also, again, turn this into Dynamesh, and let's Dynamesh this. And then let's do Control and Shift. And let's pick something like the knife rectangular, and let's just simply cut this to clean this up. And if I cut it, I do want to turn off split to parts. I'm just going to simply trim this. Give me a nice clean piece, right? Very cool. So now I have something like this, and you know, we can decide if we like this. We can also solo it, and let's do the same thing as we did before. Let's do Control and just drag a little selection inside here, right? And do Control and click to flip the mask. Let's go to inflate. Let's just press this in a little bit. Okay. Control and drag to get rid of it. Control and drag again to re-Dynamesh. Let's polish it. And just like the other one, why don't we turn this into Z-Remesh it? So go to Geometry, and I'm going to leave my active symmetry on, turn Adapt off, switch this down to 1, and do Z-Remesh. And automatically you can see it's going to give us a very clean new topology, which is great. Control D a few times until it's nice and smooth. Let's jump out of the solo mode. Now we have something like this. All right, another thing I can do is maybe pinch it. So let's go ahead and grab pinch, make it kind of large, and make sure my symmetry is on. And what I could do is I can just pinch this. And by pinching it, you can see it's gonna also create this sharp corner, which I kind of like actually. And I think it makes sense as far as the beak goes. But I do need to adjust kind of these sides here, right? So let's just maybe adjust this a little. All right, so we're just creating kind of a custom beak here. All right, so now if I wanted to clean this up, even though I'm subdivided, you know, you can see that my Z-Remesh object is subdivided. How would I clean this up and make it even smoother and cleaner? Well, what I can do is I can just simply delete lower, right? And go back to Z-Remesher, and let's just Z-Remesh this again. And by doing that, that's going to give us a different topology for our shape. We can even do half and do it again. And we can just do it as many times as we want until we get the result we like. Essentially, all I need to do is just clean this up and keep it nice and clean. So if you like this, we can do Control D and go back up in resolution. And that's just a good way to clean up any issues that you might encounter, right? All right, very cool. Let's see, what else can we do? if you wanted to have the mouth open, you can always rotate this a little, maybe show that tongue in there, right? If we wanted to create a little kind of cute hair on top, I'm going to press Alt and select the body. Let me grab this snake hook. Let's just pull out a couple hairs. All right, I think that's pretty good. Very cool. For the eyes, let's talk about the eyes. I'm going to, if you wanted to re-Dynamesh and clean that up, at this point we could turn this up a little bit higher. Let's go to 512. Make sure we have enough resolution and do Control and drag and kind of clean this up, right? We can even do a little more polish. And if you have any issues like I'm seeing here, turn your active symmetry on. You can just manually clean this up. Holding down the Shift key, we can just add even more smoothness, right? And we can even smooth this even more, so we have kind of a better transition between the wings and the body. Up to you, right? Just a cute cartoon guy. All right, so now how do we, let's address the eyes. For the eyes, I'm just gonna grab the inflate and let's just figure out where we want the eyes to be. Because he's a little guy, maybe it would be cuter if they were spread out a little bit. So holding the Alt key, I'm just gonna make sure I'm on sub, which means I don't need to hold the Alt key, but I'm just gonna press this in. Maybe make this a little bit larger. All right, and this is gonna be kind of my section for the eyes. Now I need to insert another sphere. I'm gonna go to Subtools, insert another sphere. Let's go ahead and move this up as well. And let's just size our eyeball to something that fits into that eye socket, right? So I'm gonna do, I think something like that is pretty perfect. Make this just a bit larger. All right, so let's just simply duplicate it. We'll flip it over. Now we have two of them. Fantastic. All right, so I think that would be a good place to stop as far as the sculpting goes, right? What if we wanted to color it a little bit, right? Let's just start poly painting it in here as well, right? For that, I'm gonna merge both of these eyes into one layer. I'm gonna merge it down. And let's start with the eyes, right? So we'll just kind of move it from top to bottom. So for the eyes, if I'm looking at this resolution, I can see it's kind of low. So I'm gonna subdivide this a few times. Just give me a little more resolution to draw the pupils of the eyes, right? So let's do this. Let's select our material for this. And I can just do something like the skin shader 4, that's fine, okay? And let's choose white for the eyes. And I'm gonna click on my standard brush. I wanna make sure that my RGB is turned down to 100%. And I'm done sculpting, so actually I can turn add and sub off and just, let's just paint, right? So using the standard again, RGB 100%. And if I click fill object, you can see a little brush showed up telling us that now this is filled in. And now how do we add a little kind of a pupil in here, right? To do this, I'm gonna go to drag rectangular. Let's choose something. Actually, this alpha 14 is perfect. Let's make this black. And let's decide what kind of eyes we want. Maybe we'll do something like this. I'm gonna press X because I wanna make sure it's on both, but I need to jump out of local symmetry. And let's just do something like that. I think that's pretty perfect. I'm gonna switch this back to white. And now let's do something like this and like this. All right, so now we have cute eyes. Let's decide what is going on with the beak and the feet are gonna be orange, right? So let's select the foot and let's go ahead and select our orange color for the feet. So we'll do something like that, kind of a red orange. I think is perfect. I'm gonna do fill object for, let's do both feet. Let's select the beak pieces as well. And I think the tongue could be orange or we can make it red. For now, I'm gonna make it orange. Let's fill that. Let's select the body and let's think about this. I think the body is gonna be black, but maybe let's make it, not make it super dark. Let's make it kind of bluish black, kind of in this neighborhood. I think that's pretty perfect. And now let's do this. Let's paint that in. I'm going to say fill object. So now you can see all the layers have paint in them, right? You have these brushes showing you on the side that they have been all painted in. And I would like to have the tongue to be maybe a different color. So instead of orange, let's just maybe make it, you know, kind of red, or kind of like this color, and do fill object. I think that makes more sense, right? Cool. All right, now the whole penguin is going to be black, but it's going to have like a white front in front of it, right? So let's select that. Make sure we are in standard. Let's choose our dots. And I'm going to turn my alpha off. And holding down the S key, I can make this kind of large. I'm going to choose white color, and let's just see if we can paint on here, right? And we can, which is great. Now, all we need to decide is what are we painting, right? So what I would like to do is I would like to give him kind of a, let's give him a belly that is going to incorporate the kind of the lower part of the mouth. And let's just do something like this. And of course you can look up references for this, but I'm just gonna go something super basic and classic, right? All right, let's just color this in, and we'll do something like that. I think that's pretty good, right? So I'm not really sure how far down it needs to go, but I think for what we're doing, this is perfect. All right, for the eyes, let's just do something like this, and maybe, you know, maybe we don't want them to be perfectly round, so maybe we can make them more like this. All right, if I wanted to paint the inside, you know, you could see their little white is seeing through. If I hover over the tongue and press C on my keyboard, you can see that that color was sampled. And now what I could do is I can literally just paint, instead of white, I can paint that kind of the same red. And maybe that's, you know, that will make a little more sense. All right, now we can maybe play with materials. Let's just go to something like the basic. And if we do a quick BPR, there you have it. You have a cute little character. And of course you can adjust the proportions. If you wanted to adjust the proportions all at once, let's do this. Let's do a merge. And we'll do merge visible. Now, as soon as you press merge visible, you have kind of two copies. You have one that is divided into all these pieces. And then ZBrush gave you another one called merge. Now, if I click on merge, you can see all my layers are gone, but that's okay because your other one is still here. But now the merge one is cool because now if you wanted to do any big changes or adjustments, you can just grab your move brush and you can make them as one shape, right? So let me turn my symmetry on. Maybe I want to, you know, adjust some of the proportions. Maybe I want the, you know, this to be a little larger, this to be a little pointier. Maybe I want to fix these feet a little, maybe push them in. So the cool thing about doing this is that it gives you a lot of control over the entire shape. All right, if you wanted to play with lighting, you can go to lights. Let's turn a second light on. And of course, we can move it around, right? All right, so now if we do a quick BPR, you can see what that looks like. All right, if you want to change the background color of the gray, you can always switch the color to white, go to document, and in here just click the back button, and that's going to make it white. And now if I do a BPR, I have kind of maybe a snowy background. Another thing I like to do is go to render, and in here on F3 here, if I turn on the radius up, this is going to give us a little more sharpness. If you want to control the shadows, now this is not the best way to render your characters, but just for fun, a little preview. You can always go to shadow, and in here you have the strength for both the ground, and if you redo it, you could see you can control the shadows. You can even control the blur, right? If I turn the blur up, you can see if I press filter, the blur is going to be a little bit cleaner maybe. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in our next one.